Royal Rebounds TV with Calvin and Barry. Just two crazy fans of the Sacramento Kings, and they sharing their opinion. So be sure that you subscribe. It's for the fans, by the fans. Whether you chilling on the couch or wilding in the stands. For laid back conversations about the Kings, subscribe here. Staying down until we come up thinking this gonna be our year. We're here drinking beer, talking about the Kings. Be sure you subscribe so you can hear that bell ring. Yeah.
What's up, Kings fans? Welcome back to Royal Rebounds, the Sacramento Kings YouTube channel for fans, by fans. Happy Halloween, everybody. And welcome in. The Kings win tonight, 115-108 over the Charolette Hornets. Calvin's got the gold chain on, and another Kings victory. Calvin, what were your thoughts, bud?
Oh, man, that game had a little bit of everything, right? Ups and downs. They were definitely toying with our hearts on this Halloween night, but I'm glad that they pulled it out.
Yeah, they definitely were. Shout out to Tito, Callum, Pika House. What's up, guys? We got another victory. Kings are 2-4 and back on the road to the playoffs. Calvin, I do have to say, I think I called this game too, right? I called a victory. I said Charlotte's got no balls. You know, they're missing LiAngelo and LaMelo, and Kings win. And what happens?
The Kings did win, and they did it without, well, Sabonis played for most of the game, but without Fox and Sabonis fouling out. I don't think you predicted that, as would many Kings fans, but hey, big game from Kevin Huerter. Davion stepped up with his biggest game of the year, too, and the Kings survive.
I'm seeing a little bit of a pattern here on the channel. We talk a little smack about somebody, and then they come out and have an amazing next game. I saw everybody, the other night talking smack about Davion Mitchell, about how he doesn't have it. You and I were like, he's got the defense, but the offense has got to catch up. He kills it tonight. 5 3-pointers, a career high for him. 9 of 11 from the field, 23 points. No assists for him, which is kind of strange, but we did see quite a few turnovers, some mistakes, and also some amazing defensive plays and some steals, especially one there to kind of close it at the end. But yeah, the big story is De'Aaron Fox only played 9 minutes in this game, goes out or is hobbling, doesn't come back in the second half, officially ruled as a bruise to the knee. I don't know, Calvin. Part of me wants to pump the brakes because we've been overreacting in every single episode of this show this season, right? Like the Kings lose, we want to trade everybody, bench some people, all this. Kings win, we're the best team in the league. Like Post says here, we're going 78-4. But I mean, your best player is out with a bruise. What does that mean to you?
Well, first of all, I would like to go on record by saying I think I've been a pretty good voice of reason on this channel so far, trying not to overreact or underreact too much. But, I mean, look, it's a knee bruise. It's at this point, it's all pain management. Like, how quickly can De'Aaron, feel comfortable enough to play again? I don't foresee this keeping him out a long time. Maybe a game, hopefully not more than that. But it's just an unfortunate. Anybody who's ever played basketball before knows how painful that is to have a knee-on-knee collision, especially in the post against a guy that's much bigger than you like that. I'm more disappointed with the fact that they did not call that a charge than De'Aaron actually having to go out of the game.
Davion's not missing any games with a bruise. I'm just going to throw that out there. But we can kind of go over here the stats for the starters. Let me share my screen here. So as you can see, Kings win 115-108. They were down early in this game. The third quarter was their friend. They really, turned it on in the second half here defensively. And I got to think that Davion Mitchell was a big part of that. But as far as the starters go, 31 minutes for Domantas Sabonis. Only 9 points, 16 huge rebounds, and 7 assists for him. He does foul out late in this game. Harrison Barnes, 16 points in 37 minutes, 9 rebounds for him. 12 for the rookie Keegan Murray in 32 minutes. I mentioned 8 points for De'Aaron Fox. 26 huge points for Kevin Huerter, including 5 threes. He went 5 for 10 from three-point range in 36 minutes. 6 points for Trey Lyles. I thought Trey Lyles played incredibly well. We can talk about him a little bit later. And then Matthew Dellavedova had an amazing 3 there late in the game to put the Kings up. 31 minutes for Davion in this game. You know, what we've been talking about, right? Like, the dude's got to stay ready. He was ready for this game. The opportunity presented itself, and he had 23 points in this game, 5 of 6 from three-point range, 9 of 11 from the field, including a few really late buckets in this game to put it away. But man, what a game, man. What a game. This game was filled with emotions for me. I was on a roller coaster, right? You see Fox goes out. Everybody's probably thinking like, oh man, without De'Aaron Fox, this team's got no shot. Then you see Sabonis goes out when he fouls out. But Kings pull through, Calvin. The Kings pull through.
Yeah, I mean, give them all the credit in the world. It came out in the third quarter after a horrible, horrible first half. They just started the game a lot like we've seen Kings early games on the road look in the past, right? They were lethargic, lazy passes. They did not look ready to play whatsoever. And the Hornets were. They took it right at them. Mason Plumlee and P.J. Washington absolutely dominated in the paint. The Kings had a ton of turnovers, weren't hitting open shots, and that's the recipe for being down double digits. They were down by as many as 15, I think, in the first half. Second half was much, much better. They looked way more focused defensively, came out, got some stops early on. Of course, hitting open threes always helps you cut into the deficit right away, and they kept that energy up the rest of the game. And yeah, Davion Mitchell, I think, was definitely the spearhead for all of that, both offensively and defensively. Hits a bunch of timely shots. You know, we've seen when he gets those first couple shots to go in a row in a game, it totally changes how he plays. He's much more aggressive, and that's why you don't see him with the assists. It's what I was talking about, you know, when we were looking at his struggles. He's a volume shooter. He's a guy that creates offense for himself, and tonight he got every look that he wanted to.
Yeah, he definitely did. What are your thoughts on Sabonis, fouling out in this game? There's 2 games now that he's fouled out. Watching it, I'm kind of thinking to myself what a lot of fans are thinking, which we've been talking about, right? Is this dude is a power forward. He's not a center. He's, kind of stuck in the middle here, trying to recover late and help. I thought that last foul was a little ticky-tacky. Obviously, he should have done a better job boxing out and been more worried about the ball than the guy behind him. However, does this kind of go into our discussion of like the Kings need a legit ball, like a rim protecting center, or what are your thoughts on Sabonis fouling out yet again here?
Well, I mean, I do think that overall, when you foul out, multiple times in a short period, a bunch of those fouls are going to could go either way, ticky-tack, all that stuff. So yeah, I mean, you could probably take away a couple of his fouls tonight, but to me, he just looks. I'm more concerned about offense than I am defense. Defensively, he's in the right position a lot of times. It's just unfortunate he's either having to come over too late on a guy who's getting a free pass to the basket, or he's been in the right position the whole time, and he just brings the arms down a little bit too much, and the refs call it a foul. That stuff, I think, tends to even out as the season goes on. But to me, he looks way too hesitant offensively. I understand that they're trying to use him away from the basket, top of the key, free throw line extended as a primary screen setter and also a facilitator with the ball. But when they give him the ball on a clear option post-up, he holds on to it way too long, Barry. I want to see him be much more aggressive, quick turn and go, and try to get back to the foul line or get off a good shot. He throws up way too many pump fakes. I feel he takes way too long to get into his move offensively. He just looks way too hesitant. So the fouls are obviously a problem. And yes, I do think that they could use more rim protection overall. But I still think that a lot of the times he's in good position defensively. I'm more worried about how he's being used offensively, needing to be more aggressive and looking to score. You keep saying if the Kings are going to be great, I want him to be their third best player. I think he needs to be much better than that. They need him to be the 20-point, 10 to 12 rebound per game guy that they got from Indiana in order to take the next step.
No, I mean, I agree with you. Like, I think he needs to be that 20 and 10 guy, but I think the Kings need to have two players better than that for them to be a really, really good basketball team. You know, we can talk about the defensive center position here a little bit later. I hope you did your homework, because you know we had some lessons, you know, we had to work out. But offensively, dude, I couldn't agree with you more. I'm watching him in this game, and I'm like, either he's getting the ball like too high up that he doesn't feel comfortable. He's trying, you know, like too many pump fakes. He's trying to back guys down. He's not really getting in like a position he seems comfortable in. So either it's you know, the guard is not getting it to him down low enough, or he's just not being aggressive enough. I'm not really sure exactly what it is, but I noticed exactly what you noticed too, where it was just too much of him, a little bit too outside of his zone, trying to figure out what to do, and it just didn't work out great for the Kings.
Yeah, and I thought, especially after it was announced that De'Aaron Fox wasn't going to return to the game, you know, coming out in the second half, I thought they were going to go to Sabonis early and often on the low block. That wasn't the case. Luckily, Kevin Huerter steps up, starts hitting some threes. You know, everybody that played started to make more shots. Davion, even Keegan Murray got a little bit better in the second half, even though this probably was one of his worst games overall as a rookie. I think that just is a testament to how well Keegan Murray has played so far. But yeah, I really expected them to go to him aggressively, offensively, look to get things going for them. Luckily, Davion was able to do that.
Let's talk a little bit more about De'Aaron Fox. You know, we kind of talked about the last episode how De'Aaron Fox has had a bunch of incredible games this year. You know, if you look at the first 4 games of the season, De'Aaron Fox leads the team in scoring 33, 36, 26, 27. He scores 17 on Saturday night. The Kings win that game. And I remember I asked you, I said, Calvin, is this Kings team better when De'Aaron Fox isn't like, I got to get 30 and I got to, you know, distribute the ball around, get people more involved instead of them kind of sitting in the corner watching him work? You know, he doesn't play much tonight. Obviously doesn't score a lot. It forces other guys to step up, and the Kings get another victory. Now, I'm not comparing this game to playing a team like Golden State or even Portland or the Clippers, right? Those are much better teams, in my opinion, than this Charlotte Hornets team. However, I think as soon as De'Aaron Fox came out of the game in the second half, you saw a much different defensive team from Sacramento. I'm not even talking about the offensive point, but then you saw other guys like Kevin Huerter step up in this game, just like last game, right? He had 27 in the last game. He steps up, has 26 big ones in this game. We see Davion, you know, contribute off the bench in this game. You know, does this kind of go towards that whole narrative of like De'Aaron Fox is an amazing player, but sometimes players get caught watching amazing players work and they don't get as involved in the game? You know, are you following me here? Do you think that has any impact on maybe the outcome of this game tonight?
No, this game tonight to me just came down to effort. I mean, yes, they were not making shots early on in this game, and you're not going to win very often if you can't make open shots. But the way you stay in those games and claw them out is with effort and intensity defensively. It was too lackadaisical on offense, too many lazy passes, turnovers, which, yes, De'Aaron was a part of that, but he wasn't the only one. And then defensively, there was no effort to stop Charlotte inside. I mean, Mason Plumlee and P.J. Washington made contested shot after contested shot after contested shot inside at every single possession. So I do see what you're getting at, and yeah, I do think that there's a little bit of truth to that in certain situations. But for me, in the big picture of this team, the Kings are obviously a much better team when they're making 3-point shots. They take close to 40 a game now. So they've built this team with outside shooters to go along with Fox and Sabonis, the two-man game, Fox getting to the basket inside. So for me, it's like if the Kings are hitting their threes, then everything seems to work out for them. They get these double-digit leads late in the game, or they're in a position to win. If they're not hitting those shots, that's when De'Aaron has to take a little more of the offense on himself, and maybe try to assert himself a little bit more. But it's all about the defensive end for me. Like, that's what it comes down to every time for this team. Can they, play defense without fouling, high level of intensity for an entire 48 minutes, and commit to rebounding as well? Because if you do that, you overcome the shooting slumps. You can still take these wide open threes that everyone considers good shots in the offense. You just expect them at some point to start to fall. But you can't allow yourself to be playing from behind every single night. We've talked so much about the schedule and how difficult it is early on. If the Kings lost this game today, I would have been as upset or disappointed with them as I've been all year long, because these are the games that if you're gonna, I realize you have to beat good teams to win, but you cannot afford to have these mental lapses in the schedule when you play a team that you should beat even when they're at full strength. Now they're not at full strength. Mm-hmm. These are the games you have to step on the throat and kill the team early on and put this thing to rest.
Yeah. Shout out to Tito, Progressive G, Brian, Neil, Gothan. Thank you guys. Christian, welcome in, everybody. And Eric, thank you guys so much for joining us. And if it's your first time to the channel, all you got to do is hit that like button. That's your entry here into Royal Rebounds and to join the Royal family. So welcome in, everybody. And yeah, another good Kings victory. So Calvin, what I'm getting from you is De'Aaron Fox scoring 30 is more of a cause and effect thing, right? Where if the team is playing well, he doesn't have to do that. So they're more likely to win, versus if the team is not playing well, they're most likely losing, and he tries to put them on his back. Sometimes he can do it, but other times cannot. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I would say so in a nutshell. Look, I mean, you're going to feed the hot hand, right? Tonight, Kevin Huerter is lighting it up from three. Even Davion is lighting it up from three. You're going to try to get the ball to them and say, keep shooting. If De'Aaron is getting to the basket at will and scoring in the paint every possession, you're going to want your best player to keep asserting his dominance on the game and keep playing like that, right? So it's sort of a situational thing, but I do feel like, especially if you're Mike Brown, you've got to say, hey, right now our outside shots aren't going in. We need to get something towards the basket, try to get an easy look. There's nobody you want with the ball in his hands in that scenario more than De'Aaron Fox on this team.
What's up, Dennis? Let's go Sax. PK, welcome in. Dirt and Rust. Yeah, put some respect on Monty's name for bringing in all these new faces to help win some games. We're 2-4, man. I'm not disappointed right now. It's been a tough schedule. I like what I've seen from the team. Obviously, pulling out a win here, without De'Aaron Fox, without Sabonis late, and having a guy that we drafted last year that many people have been questioning over the past couple of weeks whether he's the real deal anymore, right? So it definitely feels good to get a win here. PK says Calvin looks amazing.
Thank you.
Progressive G, can you remember the last time the Kings were winning the whole game and won by a comfortable margin? Yeah,
it was Saturday.
Preseason. It's called the preseason. What are you drinking today, Calvin? You were supposed to have a beer today.
Yeah, I dropped the ball on that one. When you asked me to move the time up on the show, we were originally going to be at 4 o'clock. Then I was scrambling to get my costume on, and I forgot all about the beer. So I apologize, everybody.
I mean, I can hold the channel here for a minute or something if you need to run and grab a beer.
All right. I'll go have a celebratory beer. I'll be right back.
Do pharaohs drink? Are pharaohs allowed to drink? I don't know. I'm pouring myself a beer, but everybody, it's a win. Do whatever you do to celebrate wins. We can take a quick second here. I'm filling up another beer. Try not to drink out of cans this episode because, as you can tell, I'm a 1920s gangster, and I don't think they drank out of cans. We drank bootlegs and in underground bars where there was no cops. But another amazing victory tonight for the Sacramento Kings. I'm really excited about this team. Watching the first half of this game, I was a little disappointed. We saw a lot of lapses in defense. It just seemed like the Hornets could get to the paint at ease, right to the basket, with basically nothing restricting them at all. And the Kings turned it around in the second half. You know, they allowed 34 in the first quarter, 33 in the second quarter, but only 18 in the third quarter, which other than that last game, the Kings have been pretty good in the third quarter this season. So 18 in this game and then 23 in the fourth quarter. So the Kings were able to put on the clamps a little bit. You know, we were expecting this game to be like 130 to 125 or something like that. Two teams that aren't really great at defense. But hey, the Kings, they turned this around. This was a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde game, and the second half was definitely a different story. And also, to everybody that's joining in that was here on Saturday, if you can't tell, Calvin is a pharaoh. And it's kind of blending in, Calvin, but we can barely see the chain. You got the chain on for everybody again.
That's right. The victory chain is back. No beer in the fridge, so unfortunately I can't celebrate with a beer. But
man, it's
too
okay.
bad
I got
it
the
doesn't
victory
just
chain
magically
appear, huh? That'd be nice.
Um,
That'd be real nice. So what were your thoughts on just how easy it was for Charlotte to get to the basket in this game? Because the first half, it just seemed way, way too easy. One thing I noticed kind of more towards the third and fourth quarters was it seemed like neither team was really involved in a lot of ball movement. It seemed like it was kind of ISO ball on both ends of the floor, where they're playing ISO, we're playing ISO. Their ISO players were playing a little bit better than ours, and then at the end, you know, we started passing a little bit more, and we're able to you know, pull out. But you know, what were your thoughts on just the defense in the inside for Sacramento?
Well, it was non-existent. I mean, I shouldn't say non-existent because, as I mentioned before, P.J. Washington and Mason Plumlee hit a bunch of really difficult shots where they had a guy right in their face. But the Kings really struggled with defending the pick and roll early in this game. They got basically free rim runs, the Hornets did, anytime they wanted. The communication was not there whatsoever from the beginning of this game. It did get better, and you know, it helps when you've got guys that are able to work their way through screens more, like Davion is on a lot of plays. And I think Fox has done that a lot this year as well, but obviously he gets hurt. To me, it's just a communication breakdown. And then, you know, what you ideally would want in those situations is to have the guy, the rim protector, to be able to come from the weak side and help take away some of those easy looks. But the Kings don't have that. So it's all based on communication and properly playing the pick and roll, switching, rotating, which, again, always comes down to effort. And in the second half, they had a lot more effort than they did in the first.
Effort. That isn't that Davion's middle name? Effort, right? Because he was there, dude.
I don't know what this is, but I've been gifted a alcoholic beverage, I believe, of some kind. So, cheers, everyone.
Don't try this at home, kids. You know, when you're given something, you got to know what's in it, right? Especially if you're at a bar. But hey, cheers to that, Calvin. Cheers to
It's
unknown
good.
beverages.
It's good.
So, I mean, is that the only difference between the first and the second half in this game was effort? Because, you know, Mike Brown is a defensive-minded coach. These are the type of things that we were looking for him to, you know, kind of crack down on. Another thing we noted about Mike Brown, or I guess maybe the lack of Luke Walton, was adjustments at halftime, right? Where Luke Walton didn't seem to be making great in-game adjustments. This could be more effort in the second half, or it could have been a Mike Brown adjustment at halftime.
Oh, well, I mean, I'm sure it's both, right? Like, you can't, if you're the coaching staff, you have to address the issues defensively. And some of that is schematics, yes, but a lot of it is effort too. It's a 50-50 relationship between the coaches and the players. And was that the only difference between the first and second half? No. But when you are able to finally get stops, you can weather the shooting slumps that the Kings occasionally go through, where they miss 2 or 3 open 3-point shots in a row, because you're not, you know, continuing to fall behind by farther and farther. I thought Davion gave them a really, really great spark, both when he came in the first half and as well to start the second. So knocking down outside open shots, and securing the rebound and getting stops defensively. They also turned the ball over way too much in the first half, and they were able to cut those down a lot in the second half as well. That's the difference, basically.
I mean, even late in that game, there was a couple passes. It was either Davion or like the pass after his where I'm like, oh, not a good pass, turns it over, and then Davion pokes it right back. I think there was like 2 plays in a row where he turns it over, gets the ball right back, which I guess is a little bit luck, but, when you have a defensive-minded guy.
That's effort, though, right? That's staying with the play.
Yep.
I mean, yes, you would like him to not turn the ball over initially, but sticking with the play, and finding a way to get it back for Sacramento. And then, of course, the 5-second call at the end of the game.
Oh, huge.
That's big as well, too.
Huge. And we saw some, speaking of effort, we saw Trey Lyles out there making some big plays towards the end, right? Stopping the ball from going out of bounds. I think he had a block there, and just overall hustle from him. Progressive G says, what do you guys think of them going with Lyles over Holmes after Sabonis fouls out? That's a great question. We only saw 12 minutes tonight for Richaun Holmes. 100% from the field, took one shot, made one, but it seemed like they leaned more on Trey Lyles, which I thought was a good move. What were your thoughts, Calvin?
Yeah, I did like the move, and I think that the reason they did that is because they can run their offense better with Trey Lyles at the 5 than they can with Richaun, because Trey Lyles can do more things like Sabonis in that position than Holmes can. Holmes is a great rim runner, good screen setter, and good around the basket, but you're not going to give him the ball, at the free throw line looking to make plays for others. You're not going to look for him to take outside shots. And Trey Lyles, even though he can't do maybe some of those things as good as Sabonis can or as well, he's much better in that situation. So to me, that's why they went with him. And he's been, a very reliable guy, at least in the past couple games off the bench for them. I think that he's definitely earning his or solidifying his spot in the rotation.
I'm so confused about Richaun Holmes because I really like the guy. I think he's a great character guy, but I'm just so confused what this team's plan is for him and what his real role is on this team, because it doesn't really seem to be like carved out. Like, what are you? Are you the first big off the bench? Are you the sixth man? Like, some nights you barely play any minutes at all. Like, I haven't seen him get poked in the eye this year, so he should be out there. But, like, what is Richaun Holmes? Is he just like a trade chip at this point that they try and showcase at times? Like, he doesn't seem like part of the team to me.
Ooh, that last statement that's a little rough, I think.
Nothing against him. I'm just saying, like, yeah.
To me, Richaun Holmes he's the best option the Kings have as a backup 5 right now. And a lot of people might think that Keita is that person, but Keita hasn't proven that yet. He hasn't been really given the opportunity to either. It's not his fault, but still, he's an unproven commodity at this point. So to me, Richaun is the Kings' best option at the backup center position right now. I just don't think that he fits necessarily very well with the types of players that they've added to this team, and more importantly, the second unit that he's going to be playing with. We saw Davion tonight, 0 assists, but he was so effective because he was able to get himself going offensively early on, and the majority of that stuff he creates for himself. Richaun Holmes is a product of the guard offensively, is a product of the guards around him. He needs that facilitator to create opportunities for him, and he doesn't really have that person on this team right now with Tyrese being gone. So I was a little surprised that they didn't more aggressively look to deal him in the offseason. I'm not so sure what the future holds for Richaun, but it doesn't seem to be the right fit on this team right now.
Yeah, it really, really doesn't. Neil says Holmes needs Hallie, which I think you and I both agree with 100%. I'm just so confused about it. I really am. And, I'm a little kind of stuck in the middle here sometimes, because I'm like, should your backup center, should he be a complement, or should he do the same things that your starting center does, but maybe just, in less of a way, kind of like what we saw last year, right? Where you have Rudy Gobert out there. And then when Rudy Gobert's off the court, you bring in Hassan Whiteside, which is, they're very, very similar, right? So you can kind of run a lot of the same schemes, a lot of the same plays because they do the same. Or you better off having a guy that's just the complete opposite to give you a different look when you need to, right? Either way, Richaun Holmes is not Sabonis, and he's not the opposite of Sabonis, right? He's not going to do what Sabonis does offensively, passing the ball, stuff like that, and he's not going to make up for the things that Sabonis doesn't do, like blocking shots at the rim. So I think he's kind of stuck in that middle ground. I think he has the talent. I think he, is a great option, but he doesn't really complement, Sabonis or give them a different look. So I think he's kind of stuck in the middle in that.
Yeah, I agree. And, to Neil's comment here that it's on coaching, just run pick and roll with Richaun. Yes, you're right in a sense, but again, it's about the types of players that you're running the pick and roll with and the style of offense that you're running. They are using Richaun in the pick and roll. Yep. But when you run pick and roll with guys like Davion Mitchell and Kevin Huerter and Harrison Barnes, those guys are not facilitators. You're running pick and roll with them to look to get them an open lane to the basket or a mid-range jump shot. They're not looking to dump it off to Richaun for that push shot. Even when they run those plays with Sabonis, those guys are coming off those screens looking to score. They're not looking to give Sabonis the ball in a similar position to score. So it is, yes, a coaching issue, but it's also a personnel issue as well. And I don't think the personnel dictates Holmes being a big-time player on this team right now.
Yeah, and Davion had a lot of passes that were tipped when he was trying to play in that pick-and-roll game. And at the same time, too, like we saw it last year in the playoffs with Rudy Gobert. When you're pretty like one-dimensional like that, a team can take you away. If they know that all you can do with Richaun Holmes is run the pick-and-roll and hit that push shot, they're going to take that away, and they're going to make you do something else. So I think that's also been pretty tough on him. Shout out to JN here. JN says 8 more wins in a row for a shaved head for Calvin. You guys bet on a 10-game winning streak or something?
That was suggested. I don't ever remember agreeing to that. I did agree firmly on if the Kings are the 5th seed in the Western Conference playoffs this year, I will shave my head. But I'm sorry, JN, I don't think I agreed to the 10-game win streak.
I'll have to dig up the footage because JN seems like a straight shooter to me. I don't think JN would lie to us, Calvin. All right, everyone wants to talk about Malik Monk here.
Oh, there we go. Way to be truthful, JN. I love it.
Let's move on to Malik Monk. Give me your thoughts on Malik. And ever since I've been screaming that he should be a starter, he's really let me down, Calvin. It's almost like he's on my fantasy team.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, I saw someone in the comments say Malik was really trying for the revenge game tonight, but he just couldn't hit any shots. That's kind of what it felt like to me. And look, when Kevin Huerter plays as well as he does, that's going to take minutes away from Malik Monk. So it's just going to lessen the amount of opportunity he has to get in the game and get in a rhythm. But also, back to Davion, Malik shared probably the majority of his minutes on the floor with Davion tonight, and Davion was feeling it. So, again, that's going to take opportunities and shot attempts away from Malik Monk.
All right, JN, thank you for joining us. Kings win. Have a wonderful night trick-or-treating. Make sure you check all those candies for all those things that are supposed to be hidden in them that I've been looking for 20 years that I never find. Calvin, I got candy up here. Are you guys handing candy out at the door, or are you guys scaring kids away?
I'd be surprised if there was even a kid that came to our house, Barry. There aren't many kids in this neighborhood, as you know, and we're not exactly like on the beaten path. You kind of have to walk a ways to get to where our house is. So I will hand out some candy if anybody comes to the door, but I'm not expecting anyone.
I'm the guy that's like, I'm putting out the full bowl that says like take one each, but if you take the whole bowl, I'm not going to be mad about it. But I mean, you remember as a kid trick-or-treating, right? We all heard, oh, blah, blah, blah is giving out the full size Snicker bars. We got to go over there. There was a while ago, I heard there was an app for that where you could like mark people's houses for like good and shitty candy.
Man, can you imagine if we had some of that when we were kids? It would have been bad news.
That was but that was like 5+ years ago, so I could only imagine what there is now. I remember one year as a kid, my mom was handing out apples for Halloween, and the next year nobody came to our house. So, you got to keep your street cred if you want to stay in the candy game. Oh man, I want to remind you all, and Calvin, I guess we could remind ourselves here. Since we got back to Hawaii, the Kings are 2-1 now, right? They were 0-3 while we were in California, 2-1 now. While we've been back, maybe we're supposed to be here, Calvin. Maybe we are.
I guess so. That's what the universe is saying. It's okay with me.
Charlie said kids don't trick or treat like they used to. I don't have any children, so I wouldn't know. But Charlie, what do they do now? Is it not cool to be a trick-or-treater now? Gothan says, I've been waiting for LSD in my Halloween candy since I was 10 years old. Yeah, me too. And nothing.
Well, Gothan, that's the great part about being an adult is you can just put some LSD in your own candy and you're good to go. So
I love all the memes that are like, nobody that does drugs is wasting their drugs on your kids. They love drugs, not kids. But still, I mean, I could see some crazy people, man. You watch a Netflix documentary about some dude in the middle of nowhere just being a fucking crazy guy. Like, shit can happen, man. Shit could happen. If I had a child, I'd probably be one of those parents too. And I'd be taxing him too. I'd be like, you know what, 30% of the candy goes here.
Yes.
You got to fill out this little return.
Tax.
Tell me how many houses you went to. And get them used to life, dude. Get them used to getting it.
Well, Barry, what was your number one candy as a kid trick-or-treating? What was the one that, you lay out all the candy and you try to trade?
Easy answer. I like those. I like the little, the mini Butterfingers. Those are so good.
I do love Butterfingers.
They were bomb.
Those are good.
Because Butterfinger, like you get the big one is like a little bit too much, but you have the little baby one. It like melts in your mouth. It is phenomenal, dude. I'm probably going to go look for those tonight. I'll go find a kid or something, take them trick-or-treating, and then make them split 30% of it with me.
I thought you were going to say you're going to take all those mini Butterfingers.
I did that before, but I mean, we're probably past the statute of limitations, so I could probably talk about it. But I don't want to give this channel a bad rap, so stealing candy from kids is wrong. All right, let's get back to the game. Calvin, did you do your homework?
I did not do my homework, which is exactly how my entire life has gone. So, but I, like the rest of my life went in school, I'm a good test taker, so give me a shot.
All right. This is not going to be multiple choice, which is probably going to make it harder on you. But who's your guy, dude? Like, who's your center? If you're Monty McNair, you've watched 6 games so far. You're like, the one problem with this team, there's a lot of problems, but the one problem I can nail down is we cannot defend the paint. So we need to bring in somebody to protect the paint.
It's been a problem for a while for this team.
Who's your guy? Who are you going after? Who is your diamond in the rough that's sitting on the bench somewhere? And don't say Mo Bamba.
That's my answer, man. I'm sorry to take the easy way out, but that's an idea that I've already floated. I love Miles Turner as well, but we've been through this, I feel like, with the whole Miles Turner thing. It was always a question of, do you trade for Turner or Sabonis, not both of them? I don't think that it's realistic at this point to reunite them. I like Bol too, Progressive G, but I think Mo Bamba fits this team better. And so right now, I unfortunately don't have a trade package that I've already researched that would go through and work correctly, but I think that Mo Bamba would be a fantastic fit for this team, not just because of his rim protection, but also because of the way he stretches the floor. He can shoot from the outside. They can still play Sabonis the same way they want to play if the two of them are sharing the floor together. So I think it would be a really good match. Dude, and after today's game, I'm willing to try to unload some players for PJ Washington as well. Like if you could swap Harrison Barnes for PJ Washington somehow, I know that probably by itself doesn't work, but that would be an incredible upgrade, I think, in my opinion, right now for the Kings.
I got to get one of those gold chains you got on, man. I mean, just It looks good. 2 chains are better than 1, right? Like, I think I'm going to get one of those for the wins. I love the shout-outs here to Dwight Howard. But, I mean, you just basically ragged on my whole pick this whole time. I'm going with Miles Turner. And, I'm
not ragging on Miles Turner. I just am saying that I don't see the Pacers turning around and deciding that, okay, that we're going to do that deal now. Why at this point,
Yeah. So, no, I agree. I do agree. And the reason I say Miles Turner is he seems to be one of the only ones that is actually available. We saw an article come out today. He's calling out the Lakers saying, give up the 2 first-round picks for me and Buddy Hield. Like, you need to make it happen. He's in the last year of his deal. I think he's gone. He's not leaving that team. He's not returning to that team. He wants a bigger role. And he's a great shot blocker.
Is he going to get a bigger role if he comes to Sacramento, though?
Hey, if
with
he can be the second best player. With the emergence of Kevin
Huerter, Fox playing like an all-star, he's going to have to compete again with Sabonis for outside looks.
If he can be the second best player on the team, Calvin, like I've been saying.
Are you going to convince him to come off the bench, too? Like, I don't know. There's a lot of –
He's not.
Well, that's part of the thing is he already was playing next to Sabonis for a long portion of his career and said he didn't want that. When they decided they were going to break this up, he didn't want that same role again. If he comes to Sacramento and starts next to Sabonis, tell me why he's not going to play the same role.
I don't have the right answer for you, Calvin. All I'm going to say is, I went back and I looked at the numbers because I was like, well, they were a pretty good team. Victor Oladipo had some of his best years there. So I went back to look at the numbers. This team, when they had Sabonis and Miles Turner paired together, they were a top 10 defense in the NBA, like 4 years. 1 year they were top 15. Like, these guys can work together. I think they need a little bit more. And I did mention they had a guy in Victor Oladipo who's not a bad defensive player. But in my mind, I think he could fit next to Sabonis. I think he could work on this Kings team. The only thing that's holding it up is whether the Pacers are willing to trade him to Sacramento. So that for me is the hard part. If I'm the Kings, you could say, hey, I like Keegan Murray. He's our future at the 3, and we need to shift Sabonis to the 4. So who's the odd man out? That's Harrison Barnes, right? The guy that we've been talking about that potentially could be coming off the bench, potentially doesn't re-sign with the Sacramento Kings, all that stuff. Now, would Harrison Barnes be enough to move the needle? Probably not if you're the Pacers, to be honest, right? That team needs draft picks, and they need to mentor guys like Tyrese Halliburton. I think that he could be a good mentor for Tyrese Halliburton. He obviously already has a connection with him. All that stuff is not going to lead to a lot more victories this year for the Pacers, so they're still going to get a good draft pick, but they're going to want more than just a Harrison Barnes. Now, the Kings have the Pacers' second-round draft pick this season from the Buddy Hield, Tyrese Halliburton, Sabonis trade, so they could offer that as well, but honestly, I don't think that's enough.
I agree with you. And I want to clarify a couple of things here. I am not saying that on paper and in the theoretical basketball scheme of things that Turner and Sabonis don't work together. Their games complement each other very well. But you have to think about long term. If you're trading for Miles Turner, you're going to want him to be a part of this team for a while, right? The resurgence back to the playoffs with Sacramento. He's a free agent coming up next season. He's already said he wants a bigger role. He said this last year when they were talking about whether they trade Turner or Sabonis. He didn't like the way that he was being used when Sabonis was there in Indiana. He wanted a bigger role offensively. So if you're going to trade for Sabonis last year and then trade for Miles Turner this year, and your pitch to Miles Turner is come to this team, be a part of making Sacramento great again and getting us back to the playoffs, re-sign with us in the offseason, why would he do that? It just doesn't make any sense to me. So it's not that I'm not saying they have beef, BK. I'm saying that he wants a different role on a team, and if you trade for him, he's going to have the exact same role that he had when he was playing with Sabonis in Indiana. It's not that they don't like each other. It's not that they don't work well together. It's you want to build a team for the future, and you want to convince a guy in Miles Turner, if you're going to trade a first-round pick for him, that he should re-sign with Sacramento in the offseason. And I don't see there being enough to get Miles Turner to do that. So that's why I think you have to look elsewhere.
I don't see Sacramento trading a first-round pick for him. I don't know if anybody's going to trade a first-round pick for him. That's where the trouble comes in here. Now, if you're Sacramento and you can offer straight-up Barnes for Turner, I'm doing it. There's no risk in that situation for me. They're both going to be free agents at the end of the year. Both could leave. That to me is a win-win. But that comes down to whether the Lakers are not willing to give up these 2 first-round picks or some of these other teams. And honestly, I got to give a shout out to the Lakers. They won yesterday, Calvin. The Lakers got to win. We're not going to see many of those this year, so we got to shout them out when they do. But honestly, if you're the Lakers, decisions are getting even tougher for you, right? Because you're like, our team sucks. We need to add more talent. But now that our team is like really showing itself and showing how bad it is, like our first round draft picks are more valuable. Why do we want to trade them? So they're in a really, really tough spot right now. But honestly, if I could do HB straight up for Miles Turner, I'd even throw in, 1 or 2 second round picks. I think that's a no brainer for the Sacramento Kings. I just don't know if it is enough. Honestly, I really don't know if that's
agree.
enough.
I don't think that deal's.
I want to throw another guy out here for you.
For Indiana.
You talk about Mo Bamba and Bol. What if Orlando sees a future in Mo Bamba? What about Wendell Carter Jr.? Would you make a trade for Wendell Carter Jr.? He can protect the rim.
Not as well as Mo Bamba, and that's the guy that I would try to pry away first. I just think that Wendell Carter is a very solid center, an average starting center in this league, I would say. They don't need. I think Mo Bamba just fits the team better, I would say, overall. And he's not the guy that they're giving the most minutes to right now. So to me, it seems like you could potentially steal him away.
Yep. Progressive G did not like my Lakers comment. Sorry, Progressive G. I did not mean to offend you. Fuck the Lakers. Hopefully that makes you feel better. All right. What role? Not an all-star power forward to play with. Yeah, Neil. I mean, I see what Calvin's saying, because we've been talking about this Miles Turner thing for a long time. And honestly, when we were just talking about it last year, I was saying trade. I'm going to put it out here if you guys don't remember. I was saying trade De'Aaron Fox. Let's bring in Miles Turner, Karis LeVert, and their first-round draft pick. I thought that would have been a good deal for both teams. We didn't go that way. We got Sabonis. I mean, I was happy with it. I thought, you drafted a guy a year and a half ago. You trade him for an all-star quality player. That's a good deal. I was not mad about it. We got rid of Buddy Hield's contract. I thought it worked out. I could see these guys working together because they did work together before. It could also be something that's a little bit quicker, right? They have the chemistry because they've been together before. It's a guy you could trade for mid-season that you're not like, okay, we need to wait till next season to see some actual results. Right? These guys have history together. But I get what Calvin's saying. If Miles Turner's not into it, there's really no point. If he wants
if he was locked up for 2 or 3 more years, I would be way different on my opinion here. But the fact that he's going to be a free agent next year means you run the risk of losing him pretty much for giving up 1 or 2 picks.
I think you give him Harrison Barnes and you say, I'm not going to give you anything else unless I can talk to him and we can agree to a contract extension. Like I said, I'm willing to gamble a second-round pick or something like that. I'm a gambler. But I want to ask you, Calvin, he just said, trade me to the LA Lakers. I want to go to the Lakers with Buddy Hield. That's a team with LeBron James. You have Russell Westbrook, although he'll probably be included in the trade, and you have Anthony Davis. So if he were to go to that team, he's going to effectively have a smaller role than he does on the team that he's with currently. And a smaller role than he had before on the Pacers.
I'm not so certain of that. If he was to go, look, the Lakers have 0 inside presence right now. Absolutely none. So I think he gives them a pretty good upgrade at the center position. I could see them definitely giving him a bigger role than if he were to come to Sacramento, where at least the way it looks right now, it's an equal opportunity offense, right? There's a lot of ball movement. You're looking for the shooters outside. Miles Turner is not somebody that you're going to bury in the post and just keep feeding the ball over and over again. No, you're going to want him on the outside, spread the floor around, let Sabonis run the pick and roll game in the middle, and whoever gets open from three is going to take that shot. That's the exact same thing he did in Indiana.
So that's going to make him happy?
Well, if you win, maybe you make him happy enough to re-sign. But are we that guaranteed that Miles Turner makes the Kings a 50-win team? I'm not.
Oh, man. This is so funny, dude. NBA young Cobb just totally reminded me of this. I completely forgot, dude. You are Buddy Hield, dude. You're Buddy Hield for Halloween, Cal.
Well, I think that's Buddy Hield being a pharaoh for Halloween, which would make me being a pharaoh for Halloween. But if that's what people think, then that's okay.
That shit's hilarious, man. I barely forgot about that. You got a little bit more clothes on than he does, but definitely awesome time. That's hilarious. PK says get Jonas Valanciunas. I like Val. What are your thoughts on Val?
I love Jonas Valanciunas. You know this, Barry. You and I have had the debate of who's better, Steven Adams or Jonas Valanciunas, many times, and I will always say that Valanciunas is a better player. Good luck getting him away from New Orleans. That's all I can say. They love him there.
Yeah. I mean, they got Jackson Hayes too, right? Maybe we could pry Jackson Hayes away. He's a bright young guy.
I don't want Jackson Hayes.
No Jackson Hayes.
No,
okay.
I haven't seen enough progression out of him.
We also saw, some Steven Adams shout outs in here. I'd love to have Steven Adams. I just don't know.
Again, you're not going to get him away from Memphis, so it's a moot point.
I got to show this again, man. It is way too funny. If you think this is funny, hit that like button down below so I can hear from everybody. I want to know if you have a sense of humor, because I think this is absolutely hilarious. Calvin, you had
great
to
minds
plan
think
this.
alike.
You planned this,
Great
right?
minds think alike.
Definitely planned this.
Absolutely. I called Buddy before the show, and I said, hey, man, I know you sent me that costume. He signed it for me, by the way, too. You can't see, but it's on the inside of this. I said, I'm going to wear it on the show today if you're okay with that.
It's hilarious. Shout out to Buddy Hield for sponsoring the channel here. Even after all the smack we talked about him. Progressive G says, don't sleep on Omer Yurtseven from the Miami Heat. He's buried on their bench, but can still rim protect or run protect. We talked a little bit about him. Was it during the offseason or late last year? I still don't know too much about this guy. What about you?
I don't know enough about this guy, but I do like what I've seen in the very short amount of time that I've watched him play. I mean, he's definitely a big guy, a stretch five for sure, can definitely shoot it from outside. I'm not 100% decided on whether he's a legit rim protector yet or not. I haven't really seen enough of him defensively to see if he's able to rotate well enough and move his feet well enough for a guy his size. But if you're able to, pull off a deal where you don't really give up that much, I think that's a high risk, or a low risk, high reward sort of a thing, to bring him in off the bench on this team. So
Not
that
a starter,
would be
though.
one of the last resort maybe things I would look for, or not last resort, but there are a few other guys that I would try to target before I went for him.
Plan D, Plan E?
Yeah, something like that.
Plan
something
F?
like that.
Something like that. Neil says the only difference is Calvin doesn't turn the ball over and have boneheaded plays. Great take.
You got that right.
That's a great take. Great take. And Charlie says thoughts on Naz Reid. I mean, a lot of these guys that you're throwing out here, are good basketball players. Everybody in the NBA is a good basketball player, right? Like, there's a reason you made it to the league. I just don't think that these are starting quality caliber bigs that are pushing the needle for Sacramento. What are your thoughts on Naz Reid?
I actually love Naz Reid. I mentioned him during the preseason. I forget if it was on this channel or Basketball at the Bar. Probably was Basketball at the Bar. But he's made a huge progression in my mind. This is a guy that has always been a big body in the paint, good rebounder, can definitely defend, but offensively his game was super limited. That appears to have changed. He seems to have developed a legit outside shot now. That's another guy that I think if you were able to steal him away from Sacramento or from Minnesota, I would definitely be interested in what it would take to get him. I think he could be a good plug-and-play backup center as well, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you know the Kings are analytics guys, right? So they probably already have him circled on their thing is, like you said, just like Omar Yurtseven, right? Like low risk, high reward guy. But still, you mentioned bench player, right? Like, yes, if the Kings decide we like our starting lineup, we just want to bring a different look off the bench, have a rim protector, I think guys like that could work. But I'm really looking for a starting quality guy that's going to push this team past. There's just been too many years of like, well, maybe we'll bring in this guy we got for a young player in a second round pick, and he will be the difference maker. And it just, it's so hard, man. So many, like, I remember bringing in like Carl Landry. I'm like, oh, Carl Landry, he played good, with Houston, and then we paid him too much and all this, and then we have to end up giving a first round pick to, I think, Philadelphia to offload his contract. It just too many tough memories of the Kings taking a chance on a guy, thinking he could be the guy, right? Because we have to get in early. No one's gonna sign with us. We need to like try and get a guy that's underrated. I don't know, man. I'm hurt, dude. You could tell I'm hurt. Progressive G for the second time, so I'll bring it up.
Yes, Charlie, I would do that deal.
Actually going to bring it up, but Progressive G wants to know your thoughts on Chimezie Metu and his lack of playing time. We saw Chimezie hit a game winner last season. Obviously was a fan, or Luke Walton was a fan. I think Alvin Gentry was a fan of this guy. Hasn't really played at all this year. What are your thoughts on Chimezie? Can he be that guy to help protect the rim?
I wish so. I wish he could be. I really do think that Chimezie Metu has a lot of talent. But the problem is that everybody in the NBA has a lot of talent, and that you oftentimes will find guys who show you brief glimpses or flashes of looking like real players in this league. And Metu, maybe they were really, really small glimpses, but he has had a couple of those. He just can't seem to put it all together. And I don't know what the reason for that is. I mean, it's a wide range. A lot of players, for whatever reason, they just can't seem to find the consistency level. And there are a long list of reasons for why that's the case. But he's just not consistent enough. He has the talent. He doesn't shoot well enough consistently offensively. He doesn't stay focused and engaged consistently enough defensively. So while he's very athletic and has some talent, you have to be able to put it together in order to become a real consistent rotation player in the NBA. And I'm worried that at least with Sacramento, that's not going to happen.
We will definitely see. All right, Calvin, let's move on here. Let's take a look at the schedule. As you can see, the Kings are currently 2-4. That's funny. I was asking Asha earlier how her fantasy team was doing, and she's like, they're doing okay, 5-2, 5 losses. And I was like, that's not how you say it. It's 2-5. You don't say 5-2. And I just tried to do it right there. The Kings are 4-2 with 4 losses. But the next game is on Wednesday against the Miami Heat. This game in Miami, if you've been paying attention, the Kings beat the Heat. I like that. On Saturday, maybe we can get that chant going at the game. This is another early game on the East Coast. We'll see if De'Aaron Fox is able to go. He's dealing with a bruise right now. Victor Oladipo is out. Omer Yurtseven is out. Calvin, what do the Kings need to do to win this game? It's tough to beat a team twice in a week.
It is very tough. But look, first and foremost, they have to get out to they have to come ready to play right from the opening tip. The Hornets are a team that you might be able to overcome a 15-point halftime deficit. Miami, even though they've struggled early on this year, I'm going to say more times than not is not one of those teams that you can bank on coming back from big down at halftime. So they've got to come out ready to go. Hopefully Fox will be able to play. If not, who's going to step up? Kevin Huerter is probably the first option here offensively for Sacramento. I think Keegan Murray will have to have a better game than he had tonight. And then again, it's coming ready to play defensively, intensity, effort, communication has to be good. When you play a team like Miami that has a lot of really good outside shooters, pick and roll, defending the pick and roll is always a huge thing. And that matchup of Bam and Sabonis is going to be a major, major key one inside. Sabonis has had opportunities to take advantage of guys inside at times this year, and I don't think he's been able to do it to the best of his ability. Bam's a great, great defender, so if you could somehow get him in foul trouble early, that would be a huge plus.
Yeah. Shout out to Linda here. Heater on a back-to-back when playing the Kings. The Heat have not been the Heat this year, man. They got a worse record than the Kings at this point. They're 2-5. I think 2 of those losses came to the Thunder? Right? At least one of them was to the Oklahoma City Thunder, a team that's not even trying to play basketball this year. But hey, for me, this is going to come down to whether De'Aaron Fox is able to play. I honestly think he will play in this game. If he doesn't, kind of what you were saying earlier, Davion Mitchell needs to make shots early in this game to up his confidence and continue to be aggressive. We've seen times where he takes a few shots early in the game, doesn't make them, and then he becomes a little bit too passive, which obviously is not one of his strengths. So I look for the Kings to get up early in this game if they're going to have any chance at beating this tough Miami Heat team. Yes, they are 2-5, but this is still a pretty good basketball team. Calvin, we got 33 likes right now. How many likes do you think we need to beat the Heat? Beat the Heat on Wednesday.
Beat the Heat. I'm going to go with 40 again. 40 was my number for the Hornets. They were able to get the win. I don't even know if we got 40 likes, but
we definitely did. Otherwise they wouldn't have won that game, Cal.
Of course. I also want to continue, talking about this game next week, or this game against Miami. The individual matchups on defense, I think, are going to be something to look at as well. Kevin Huerter has really struggled in his career against Tyler Hero. They played each other a lot when Huerter was in when Huerter was in Atlanta. They were in the same division. Hero cooks him regularly, and he was cooking him in the second half of that game on Saturday until Fox decided that he wanted to man up and guard Tyler Hero. So if Fox is going to be out of this game, I'm looking at maybe Keegan Murray as that guy to step up and take the defensive assignment on Tyler Hero. It depends on, how the rest of the matchups shake out, but that'll be a key individual matchup to look for.
Oh, man, I see some people here loving Willie Cauley-Stein. Don't bring Willie back, man. I liked Willie. I was on board with the draft pick, but he just hasn't worked out, man. We need somebody a little bit more established. I really think so. Shout out to Sean here. Sean, thanks for joining in. Yeah, the Kings do need a center. We talked about it. If you're interested, after the show, you can rewind back and listen if you weren't watching earlier, but we talked about potentially going after Miles Turner or Mo Bamba. Kings definitely need a rim protector. But hey, they get another win tonight, which I am ecstatic about. Progressive G says bring back Boogie. Yeah, no, sorry. Man, I like Boogie. He just is not going to help this team. And that's the hardest part, right? Is you guys have to understand, I was really bad for a long time. If my team lost,
chain the wins.
I didn't want to talk about it. I turned, the TV off. I didn't want to watch SportsCenter or ESPN or anything for the whole rest of the night. Like, that was me. Since we've started this channel, I got to be a little bit more patient. I got to be more understanding, but it's difficult. Calvin and I come up here and we just talk about it every single game. Doesn't matter if they win or they lose. Obviously, the wins feel much greater. I'm in a better mood today that they won some games. But what I'm saying is that, it's easy to get emotional after a game. It's easy to, look back in the past. Oh, I had a great time with my ex-girlfriend this one time. Maybe if I bring her back, I'll be happy again. No. Boogie Cousins, I like the guy, not going to help this team. Honestly, it doesn't matter what your name is on this team. If they can trade you to get better, they should do it. So I'm just going to leave that right there. Not advocating to trade Keegan Murray, Fox, any of these guys. But if a trade presents itself that improves this basketball team, it doesn't matter who you are. I'm on board. I am. That is the attitude that you need to end this streak, in my opinion.
I think that's very well said. I agree with Dirt here. Boogie would be a desperation move. I don't even know if it would be a desperation move. That just sounds like the Kings love their fan favorites, right? But at some point, it's about becoming a better team, and I just don't see DeMarcus Cousins making this team a better team.
Yep.
I don't.
Ninja says the Kings should trade for Wilt Chamberlain. I love Wilt the Stilt, man.
I love that idea.
What do you think it would take to get a guy like this? Because it's probably going to take a lot.
Oh, it's going to take a hell of a lot. Time machine, or like cryogenically freezing process. I don't know, something honestly, to get Calvin, him back in playing shape. So
I think it's probably better for us to trade for him before we bring him back, because we could probably get him for less. If we bring him back, it's probably going to cost a couple first-round picks, potentially Harrison Barnes.
Who exactly are we trading with to get Wilt Chamberlain?
It depends on how far you go back. How far you plan on going back? Are we trading with the Warriors or I'm just, we could probably pick up his rights pretty cheap right now.
John Stockton off the bench. Yeah, that's great. That's great. Yeah, why don't we just sign the entire Dream Team?
Oh,
those guys are all available, I think.
This is getting hilarious. All right, before we lose the entire audience here on a crazy tangent, let's talk a little bit more about the schedule here before we end the show. I also want to remind you all, Calvin and I are just fans like you. We're here having fun. We get paid in likes, so please smash up that like button and hit that subscribe button. If you are a Kings fan, we appreciate your support. And also, we are giving away a $250 Fanatics gift card. If you'd like to get a KZ Okpala jersey, maybe a Chimezie Metu jersey, a Wilt Chamberlain jersey on Fanatics, we are giving away the gift card. All you need to do is, after this video is over, go to our channel, click on our partner Basketball at the Bar, which is our all NBA channel. There's a video there. You watch that video, subscribe to the channel. You are entered in to win the $250 gift card. And I have to say, Calvin, the odds are looking pretty good right now. So I would definitely take the 20 seconds that it takes to enter in. So just going to leave that there. But Calvin, looking at the schedule, we've been talking about how tough it is. It was a rough 4 games. We lost 4 in a row. I was feeling horrible, but I feel a little bit better after these last 2 wins. The Kings are now 2-4, or 4-2 if you're Asha. But we're facing the Heat next. We're on the road, and we got Orlando. I like our chances with Orlando. We got Golden State at home. Golden State lost to who'd they lose to? Miami, Charlotte, Memphis. They lost to a team that we beat, I'm pretty sure. And then we got Cleveland, the Lakers. So it does kind of soften up a little bit here. It does hurt to play the Warriors twice in a week. But, give me your thoughts here on what's going to happen here in the next couple games.
Well, in the next couple games, look, it's always tough to go on the road and string wins together, especially for a young team that's got a lot of new pieces and a new coach. If they can find a way to tighten things up defensively, limit the turnovers, they have a decent chance to win both of these games. Miami is a good team, but they're reeling right now. I haven't watched enough of them overall this season to really tell what's different from last year. I know that they have played a really tough schedule as well. But that's going to be a tough game to win. Orlando, again, that just like tonight or today, that should be a very winnable game. Paolo Banchero is a huge mismatch for the Kings. So I don't know who they're going to have guard him. He's a real problem right now, but the Magic in general are a very reeling and struggling team. So, and then you come back all the way across the country, feels like you're coming home, but you got to go to Sacramento and play the Warriors, and that's never easy. So there are no easy games in the NBA, but if you want to see them continue to play a full 48-minute game the right way, I think Mike Brown is starting to figure out the rotation a little bit more. You're not seeing him reach to the bench, for a spark plug as often maybe as the first couple of games. So things should continue to get better. They've got to shoot well. That's a huge recipe, I think, for the Kings to win any game. They're predicated on hitting their outside shots, especially the open looks. If they do that, they'll have a chance to win. But it's going to be tough. That certainly isn't going to surprise anyone.
Yeah, one thing that really stands out to me about the schedule here is that the Kings are going to have a ton. They're traveling, but they're going to have a ton of time to practice. They got a game on Wednesday. They have Tuesday off. They have a game on Wednesday. They have Thursday, Friday off. They're staying in the same state of Florida, so there's not a lot of travel going on there. And then, we've only had one back-to-back this year so far. The next back-to-back is not until the third week of November. So, having a new coach, some new players on this team, they definitely need practice time, even if it's not, actually practicing on the court, time together, just working on stuff, watching film, stuff like that. So the Kings do have quite a few what you consider off days here where they can work on things. So I'm pretty high on that. I do have to say, Calvin, we did break through 40 likes on this video. So I think I can predict the Kings beating the Miami Heat on Wednesday. I'm not going to throw a score out there, but if they can win that game, they will be 3-4 in only one game under 500 with a chance to become 500 against Orlando on Saturday. I think the next two games are absolutely huge for the Sacramento Kings. I think you have to at least split these two games. You can't, head into Golden State with a 2-6 record and have your next two games against Golden State, a really good Cleveland Cavaliers team, a Lakers team that's trying to prove everybody wrong. Maybe they'll make a trade by then, maybe not. And then you follow it up with Golden State and Brooklyn again. So I think these next two games are absolutely huge for the Sacramento Kings. They have to get some W's, Calvin. They have to get some W's.
Yeah. Yep. Couldn't agree more.
Well, looks like I'm out of beer, so I guess that means the show's over, right? You got any last words for the Kings fans out there, Cal?
Thanks for watching. Have fun. Happy Halloween. Get some candy. Kings win.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We will see you all on Wednesday after the Kings beat the Miami Heat. I'm saying it here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a wonderful Halloween. And as always, go Kings.